Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Fred Lokken joins us, professor of political science at Truckee Meadows Community College, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers. Big R in Sparks is located on Bering Boulevard next to Smith's and across from Reed High School. It's a 50,000 square foot hardware store and a whole lot more. It's your spring headquarters with lawn and garden supplies, power equipment, and outdoor living. Big R on Bering Boulevard in Sparks next to Smith's and across from Reed High School. Big R, hardware and a whole lot more.
Carson Valley Inn, it's your place for the good times. Carson Valley Inn.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the Do It Right guys and get the air conditioning back on today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why sweat for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your air conditioning fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're always pleased to welcome back to the program Fred Lokken. He is professor of political science at Truckee Meadows Community College. Pleasure to have you back, sir.
Thank you, Sam.
We are taping this on the morning of June 5th.
An ominous day.
Yes, it's supposed to be sine die, the end of the legislative session. But I don't know, there seems to be a lot of things on the table that they need to negotiate. I mean, obviously, by the time this airs, you could be either 100% correct or 100% wrong, but what do you think of the session so far?
I think it's been overall a disappointing session.
Because?
Because of sort of the lack of structure and organization. And to say that about the Nevada legislature seems odd. But I fully understand that we had a novice governor whose politics were siloed. His role in law enforcement allowed him to see one aspect of politics over his career, and certainly at the county level, but at the state level, politics is a different animal. But he has a very experienced chief of staff. And
Thank Keffer, who's gotten unbelievable praise on this program.
Yes, and I think that under the circumstances, there was a sort of a sigh of relief in the sense that, well, this could probably be a far more productive session. But it really went south immediately with the state of the state, and I think it has shifted it into an ideological session, and we've seen to date some 30 vetoes and under 200 bills that have been signed into law. This is not a productive session, and a lot of things are still on the table.
One of the things that's remarkable is we thought going in, or at least some of us did, that because there was plenty of money, that this would not be, such a contentious, session. But as we got to near the end, it suddenly all flared up.
Well, but it is an ideological session, and therein lies the rub. I mean, you have an overwhelming Democratic majority controlling the legislature, and a governor that honestly won because Steve Sisolak lost. But in my experience of state government, you normally have an incoming governor that sort of works with the budget set that's there, dismantles some of the predecessor. But this was a major dump of ideologically driven agenda items that I think was like throwing a grenade into the legislature, and I think that it's affected its performance tremendously.
It was interesting over the weekend to read the various stories on the financing for the A's stadium. And the Nevada Independent certainly did a piece, a couple of pieces actually, John L. Smith wrote a piece as well, that was attacking the financing of the stadium based on stadiums around the country. And I thought it was interesting because of what we've seen with the Golden Knights, with Allegiant Stadium, that have been incredibly successful. And as people with the convention authority pointed out, and Jeremy Aguero, that we have a different economy than most towns, that on any given weekend, there's 150,000 rooms that are full, and that allows lots of people, including locals, to be able to come and attend all these different events. What was your take on all this?
I don't know, perhaps it's a bit of fatigue, and remember the NBA is the next discussion. But under the circumstances...
But that stadium appears to be, at least at this point, being paid for by the group.
Exactly, and or talk of maybe trying to use the arena. It was designed for hockey, but a lot of these arenas work out well for that. But with the stadium, you just had the presentation before the legislature. The numbers are powerful, with some 800,000 net visitors coming and taking advantage not only of the baseball, but also of all of the events that can be hosted in it. MGM is being seen as a real winner in this process, but the entire Strip benefits from that many additional people coming. They have not had the foreign traffic that they had anticipated, the international traffic. That may never materialize. So this is a fantastic.
It will.
It's a fantastic plan B for Las Vegas, and I think that it's one of the dynamics that gives us more recession-proofing going forward. These kinds of events are draws. Events like the Super Bowl that's coming, championship games that like the Knights are having right now with the Stanley Cup. These are all adding a level of credibility to Las Vegas that it has desperately wanted for a very long period of time, and a financial flow that has brought us back in tremendous prosperity. So there are always the naysayers, but I think they came to a point where at least there's a lion's share being covered here with the private sector. You're going to get over $1 billion hotel out of the process as well. It's going to be right on the Strip. I think this is a real win-win for Las Vegas and for Nevada.
I agree with you. And you know, the Tropicana has a storied history, but it's history, and that place has needed to be refurbished for a long time. And the idea of it being blown up and appearing in a movie, and then something brand new being put on that corner would be fabulous. And I was reading one of the analysts, I think in Howard Stutz's piece in The Independent, talked about how Excalibur should be refurbished because that would benefit from this as well. And the Oyo, which used to be Hooters, could see a great benefit to them as well. So I mean, I think there's a lot of potential benefit from this.
Well, there's all that land under the flight path that we thought was where the stadium was going to go near UNLV. That's prime for development. I mean, they've been doing a little bit there, but this proximity, and you get more parking. We desperately need parking in that part of the Strip, and so that it's going to be exciting. In following it, it was interesting. Some were arguing, oh, you should hold out for an expansion team because the A's have been such a losing team. But the A's lost Oakland followers a long time ago. This past year, they were having 2,500 people show up to a game. But for the last 15 or 20 years, they've only had 8,000 people showing up for a game. So I think that with the fan base, the ownership will be inspired to see what happened with the Knights and what's going on with the Raiders to really, I think, embellish the team roster. And I think we're going to have an exciting sports city in Nevada that is going to stand out compared to all the others.
And you know what's funny is we lost soccer, but at some point we're going to have to get soccer back because if one person's going to do it, it's going to be Bo Bernhard, who is currently in London on vacation, but is probably soccer's biggest booster in the United States. So we have to bear that in mind. Let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk about a couple of races that are coming up. And we'll be right back.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Remember 2010 in Northern Nevada, 13 to 14% unemployment, thousands of homes in foreclosure, Nevada's casinos closing? Families in the Reno-Sparks area were hurting. Many were losing everything. Then Story County launched a game changer for our region, a public-private industrial partnership, streamlined permitting, slashed bureaucracy, attracting Fortune 500 companies that made Nevada their home. Story County generated a river of cash to area communities. Economic studies by the state and others for the Gigafactory consistently show positive economic benefits for our region. $4 billion in local wages, $17 billion in consumer spending and economic activity, over $100 million in taxes to Washoe, Story, Reno, Sparks, and Nevada, just for the Gigafactory alone. Story County, improving Northern Nevada one industry at a time.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Fred Lokken. He's professor of political science at Truckee Meadows Community College. And just for the record, we are taping this on the morning of June 5th. The legislature is still in session, and who knows what could be going on. Let's start out with the U.S. Senate race. Jackie Rosen, the first announced candidate, Jim Marchant. It seems like that would be the dream candidate for Jackie Rosen's team.
I would agree, although I think we'd be silly not to think that others on the Republican side, names we already know, are seriously considering getting into this hunt. That creates a problem for the Republicans.
But is there anyone that could win?
Well, honestly, at this stage, given their track records, Jackie's in a pretty good spot in re-election. I think that she has probably still some name recognition problems here in the North. She
maybe in the South too.
Maybe in the South as well. She works extremely well with her counterpart, Catherine Cortez Masto. She clearly focuses on things that matter to Nevadans. I mean, I see her leading on veterans issues, for instance, which I think is near and dear to the heart of most Nevada voters, regardless of their political stripe. But it really gets down to that pair, and this will be another expensive race, I'm sure. I think a lot of money is going to, because again, it's going to be easier for the Republicans to win in 2024 the Senate, because I seem to have read that 23 Democratic seats are up for re-election. That's just too large a number, and they're bound to lose more of those than they want. So this seat is going to be again targeted as the Republicans try to work for that majority back in the U.S. Senate. But she's a more experienced campaigner this time around, and I think that she's impressed small business. She's a moderate. There's no doubt about that. Her business experience, I think, appeals to a lot of Nevadans. And
I don't think most people know who she is.
And yeah,
I'm sorry. I mean, you know, and is that even relevant? She got a House seat with nobody knowing at all who she was. 2 years later, she got a Senate seat, but people knew her through 30-second campaign ads.
Yep.
They didn't know her through her personally. I mean, I've been fortunate to get interviews with her each year when we do our D.C. trip. I've been trying to get an interview with her to talk about the Abraham Accords, because she's been involved in going over to the Middle East and touring there, and look forward to having that discussion with her. But it just seems that, especially on the Democratic side of the aisle, that there is less and less communication with the media than ever before, versus when Senator Reid, I would call his office, and there would never be a discussion about would he do it or not. It was always a yes, and he never wanted to know the questions in advance, and that's gone out the window now, and people are being actively told, don't come on programs like this, don't do interviews. I mean, when was the last time you saw a full-length interview with anybody at the legislature, on either side for that matter? Governor Lombardo was not given interviews. I mean, we're looking forward to him coming on the show after the session, but you know, this is not a good thing for democracy.
No, and I think there are a lot of forces at work, starting with social media. There are other avenues that they think are sometimes more effective than the more traditional venues. Our media has changed, at present company excluded. It's sometimes motivated by many of the wrong reasons, and frankly, if you're an elected official and you get, or even a celebrity, and you get bit several times in that process where you're promised one thing or you think you're getting into one thing and it turns out to be another, you do get a bit gun shy about the whole process.
Okay, but isn't that where media training comes in? I mean, I've talked to legislators about this, and they look at me and they start laughing and go, media training? I mean, that seems to be the first thing that people should learn, the ability to take control of an interview if you don't like the way things are going. And it doesn't have to be abusive, but I mean, Frankie Sue Del Papa was the first Attorney General I interviewed where you couldn't get a word in edgeways until you figured out that she had to breathe at a certain point, and you jumped in and got to ask your question. Catherine Cortez Masto, you're not going to jump in and stop her train of thought. She's been like that since she was the Attorney General. So there are some people that have understood how to do the interview process, but it seems to be, we need more training. But in looking at the press releases, and I'll give examples. My friend Chuck Muth, who writes press releases on the right, and the folks who are writing stuff for the state Democratic Party out of a legislature, they could basically be saying they're poopy pants, because that's the level of discussion that we're having here. It's pathetic. It's not about issues. It's about stupid name calling, and then people wonder why the electorate doesn't want to get involved.
I agree. But it is a push-pull. I know that there is a reluctance on the part of candidates, and it's surprising. But I will remind you again of the decline in the quality of what you get for many of these journalists trying to ask questions. I mean, I think it's very difficult to take control of an interview that doesn't have any structure or any direction from the very inexperienced reporter that's trying to get
okay,
there 5 minutes.
So in that case, I mean, over the years, and I've been doing this a while, I'll get requests from people that I'm not familiar with their programs, so I'll listen to their programs, and if the program makes sense, then I'll go do the show, and if it doesn't make sense, then I won't. But there are still enough people. I mean, I'd give you a list of a dozen names of people that I would sit down and do an interview with, or that any politician should sit down and do an interview with, because if they're not smart enough to outsmart, or at least equal, a conversation with somebody like me, they probably shouldn't be in a position of governing.
Well, but someone like
quite frankly,
someone like you is the exception. I mean, we have come off a very celebrated period in Nevada history where we had such great political reporting, both in the North and the South. Many of the greats have retired, and we have a vast wasteland in the aftermath of that, and we have a few people such as yourself that have that experience and can have that intelligent conversation about politics, but many of the people holding the microphone do not have that background, and I think it makes politicians uncomfortable because they're just not sure how that information that they're sharing is going to be taken. Again, I think they're very afraid. Everything gets twisted, it gets misreported.
Right, but if you don't do it, then people make stuff up.
Or they get frustrated because they don't seem to be in the media like they aren't. Because that's the whole, I mean, politics is salesmanship. You've got to let everybody know what you're doing, the great job that you're doing. That's what's going to help your reelection. So I'm there. I just don't think that the traditional media is in a position to do what it used to do for that. Much less it doesn't often have the readership, for instance, or maybe the listenership that it used to have. I mean, again, I think they're looking for different avenues. They want to target. They're using targeting marketing now. That getting newsletters out to the population they want to get it to electronically. They're seeing the social media as a way of spreading the word. And I think for us, it's unsettling, but I think they're making that conscious decision.
Well, the collapse.
They have more control over it.
Yeah, the collapse of the newspaper industry has been frightening in terms of the lack of information, because let's face it, for years, newspapers were the lead, then TV stations followed the newspaper, then radio stations followed the newspaper and the TV stations. That's all gone now. And so the depth of coverage, you can't go to the legislature on the last day of the session and just helicopter in. It's not going to happen.
And you're scrounging around for the information. I mean, it used to be at your fingertips, and now you have to find your sources, become very loyal to certain sources. Nevada Newsmakers gives us a sense of what's going on at the legislature. Certainly we respect the Nevada Independent. But it's a very short list now of good reporting that lets you know what's going on.
Well, and also we should throw in our friends at the Las Vegas Review-Journal who, because of the generous contribution in terms of buying the paper by Sheldon Adelson, $140 million for a paper that was probably worth $40 million. They're doing a great job as well. Let's take a break. We'll come back more with Fred Lokken after this timeout.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Safety is the #1 priority for the trucking industry. Over $7 billion a year is spent on technology like this electronic eye that will apply the brakes automatically. But the most important factor for safety is the truck driver. These hardworking men and women who safely move over 70% of our nation's freight and 94% of Nevada's. We thank you because trucks move America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Fred Lokken. He's professor of political science at Truckee Meadows Community College. Ross Miller draws Drew Johnson as an opponent for county commission. Drew came very close to winning a county commission seat. How much danger is there for Ross?
I think there's danger. There's something that's unraveled with the Ross Miller machine. I mean, he was looking so much like the rising star, and then he stumbled at the state level and just seems to have lost his mojo. It's an outsider's observation. I honestly don't know any of the internal workings, but there just doesn't seem to be that energy, that enthusiasm. They're not lining up quite the right support or finding quite the right issues, and I think there is a susceptibility.
Drew is a policy guy, which is very interesting. So he's not necessarily, he is conservative, but he's not so much coming from a right-left position, but more on policy. And I think that that's going to be very interesting, and especially in that particular seat where, you know, Stavros Anthony only lost by a few votes. So it could be an interesting toss-up. Stavros Anthony, I sent him a text the other day, and I said, you are everywhere. He is literally, I've never seen anybody be the lieutenant governor and make so many public appearances.
I know. I hate to be saying looking forward to 2028. That sounds insane. Or in this case, 2026 for the governor's race. But
I'm looking forward to July.
I know, but a lot of the locals are leapfrogging the 2024 election and really focusing on what could happen here in the Nevada election. In many ways, the collapse of the Sisolak governorship. I mean, it was the negative ratings were always high. The defeat there was a clear message of the dissatisfaction with
You know
his
what the
governorship.
message was? Look at the John Connolly election. Money isn't everything.
Exactly. Campaigning helps. Actually, explaining what you're doing
People can
helps.
go Google that. They're going, John Connolly, who the heck is he? Go there and look at that Texas race. Okay, last quick question here. We've got about 30 seconds.
Oh, boy.
Shelley Berkeley, the machine that's running her campaign is just going 300 miles an hour. For mayor of Las Vegas.
Yes, this is phenomenal. Well, an era has ended with the good ones, and I think Shelley stands a strong shot. I dare say she has a base of popularity in Clark County and in Las Vegas proper. It'd be very interesting what she identifies as the issues, but I've always enjoyed her in the campaign. She adds a certain flair to the process.
She certainly does, and that's where we have to leave it. Fred Lokken, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. Thank
and
you.
we'll be right back.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
Hi, I'm Renee Summerauer, digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful. Brian Culpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Culpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com. Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers. You can catch us online 24 hours a day at nevadanewsmakers.com, or you can download the podcast wherever you like to get your podcast. We'll see you on the next broadcast.